Holy shit, I totally neglected to do a behind the scenes video back in December. I literally didn't even notice. I also forgot to do a commentary video with Devu. All these are going to just come out soon. I'm trying to get everything in order. The new year took a real big toll on me because I had tons of new plans, tons of old things that had to be reorganized, and frankly, I haven't had time to get to everything yet. The Digibro empire is vast. There's a lot of different shit I've got going on, a lot of irons in the fire. Trying to keep it all under control can be a big hassle, especially when you get sick for a fucking week. I know not a lot of people watch these behind the scenes videos. I'm going to try to edit them a little bit more to make it a little bit more interesting because I do think that cool tidbits usually spring up in these. It's just that they're a little bit too long because I talk about every single video, and sometimes I don't really have that much of a story and I don't really figure that out until I'm already talking about it. But I can take care of all that in post. So to just start right from the beginning of December, we have Makoto Shinkai, a genius hack filmmaker. This was a long time coming. If you watch the old Patreon video that I made in January of last year, where I talk about like future plans I might have for video series or like bigger, longer videos, then one of the ones I name is a retrospective on Makoto Shinkai. It was kind of a new idea to me at the time, but I've been following this guy for the most of his entire career. Like, I've known his name since the beginning. I've watched most of his films while they were new. The only one I had missed was The Garden of Words. And I felt like I was a lot more critical of him than most people were, so I thought it might be interesting to have somebody who is super critical of him put together a retrospective of his whole career. Now, I almost made this video before I left on my trip around the country back in May. I was full-blown getting ready to start on it. I was already telling Devu to start watching the movies, but it ended up being too big of a project for me to try to take on while I was like packing all my shit and trying to move across the country. So I ended up doing the Kimono Friends video instead and just continuing to do like smaller videos over the course of time that I was traveling. And it took a while before I really found myself in a place where I was comfortable doing big videos again, of actually taking an entire month-long break to just have this one like huge project that I would work on and that wouldn't come out until it was fucking done. Now, in the month that it took for Devu to edit this video, it was almost exactly a month that it took before it published from the time that I had sent it to him. I had a lot of time to reflect on it, and when I ended up watching it back a couple of times, I saw lots of ways that I would have tightened the script, and it really made me think about how I wanted to hold my scripts back for a little while and work on them more. I've probably talked about this in Digi Does Life. But this would have a really strong effect on the videos which I'm going to talk about later, and it would be a huge part of why I didn't put out anything else in the month of December, why I just waited until January before I started releasing this deluge of content. Because while I am happy with Devu's work on the Shinkai video, and I almost didn't have him change anything, I did end up feeling like I could have tightened this script up, like I could work on my stuff a little bit longer, not try to get it out the door as fast as possible if it's not going to be coming out immediately anyways. This was followed up almost immediately by the video clarifying everything about Digibro, and this was meant to be a sort of me taking a step back podcast. Now, it's important to realize that these Digi Daily recordings that have been coming out would have actually been performed back in November for the most part. And so when I talk about in the Digi Daily episode how I wanted to sort of ghost myself out of the internet, how I was trying to make myself less of a presence, this was something that I basically did throughout all of December. I like literally ghosted myself from the internet, but the only time I really made this apparent publicly was in some of my podcasts or in this clarifying everything about Digibro video, where I kind of say like, hey, I'm about to take a step back, but before I do, let me put to rest this rumor mill going on around about me, because like there was just a crazy amount of buzz about me. I was generating controversy with some of my opinions, especially about like Mario Odyssey, which is more of like a meme thing, but that was feeding into the trolling that was already going on from this Monkey Jones stuff that still hasn't blown over. Just the amount of scrutiny in different videos being made about me got to such a ridiculous degree that I felt like the conversation surrounding me wasn't really about my content anymore. It was just about the controversial figure that is Digibro, and so much of it is couched in misunderstanding or assumption that I just decided to make one big video clarifying everything before I take a step back, so that it wouldn't look like I was just running away from these accusations. It wouldn't look like I was trying to say, hey, everybody's right about me and that's why I'm running away. I would just be like, hey, let me clarify everything so that when I take a step back, everybody knows exactly what's going on. The video Why Live Rappers Skip So Many Words was probably the first video I've ever done concept to completion while like totally baked out of my mind. And I really love that video. Like, it was a thing where it could have just been a standard vlog. It could have been rambling, it could have gone on. And it was mostly just based on the frustration that I get every time I listen to that Run the Jewels song and notice all those moments where the audio clips in on itself because you can tell they're switching cuts. This just seemed like a fun way to present that observation, to use it as an explanation for something like why live rappers skip so many words. And then once I had that as the thesis, I realized that this was a video that could interest like normies. Like, this is a question that I've seen people ask in comment sections, so I tried to make it a little bit clickbaity and a little bit like broadly appealing. It's only 4 minutes long, it's got a like title and thumbnail that are a little bit nerdwriter-ish, and since I'm not really good enough at editing to think of a more clever way to like show the way that the clip cuts in and out, I just decided to wrap it myself and use like different colored clips in order to communicate that. But I thought it would be a lot of fun to have that kind of hands-on approach, to have the video maker himself attempting the raps. I just think it was a really fun, if not even cute, kind of way of doing this. And there's been a lot of me like singing along and vocalizing on the Turntable channel. I think it's a major part of that channel's individual style. So I was really happy with this video. Unfortunately, it didn't end up getting a whole lot of views or anything. Digian made Drink Every Drink is a particularly weird one because it was just born out of a desire to drink a whole lot of different types of drinks. Like, we were trying to look for something to replace Mountain Dew because I've been drinking it too much, and I was like, I just want to try a bunch of random shit. And then when we started grabbing stuff at the store, like, it became such a meme that I was grabbing so much off the shelves that I was like, we're gonna make a video out of this and we're just gonna grab everything, you know? Then once I had all that footage, I was trying to think of a creative way to edit it. I was like, this isn't going to be entertaining just on its own. It's just 40 minutes of us drinking random drinks. What if we tried to make it funny or like cut a highlight reel out of it? And so I ended up giving it to Endless Jess, who was looking for editing work just because he wanted to make some cash on the side. And I was like, look, I can't pay you like more than $100 for this. It's not going to make any money back, you know? Like, this is me just paying you because I want to know what you can do. But like, here you go. I just gave him the footage and told him to do whatever he wanted, and he made it kind of a funny meme video, so there's that. Me and Econ had this debate, is Miyazaki overvalued? This came as the result, so Econ is a friend of mine who I met in Atlanta because he's friends with Nino, and it turned out that he was a long-time commenter on my anime blog. So I've known of this guy for a really long time, and he and I were getting into all these like high-level heated debates about anime and shit. We met again at Anime Expo and had similar debates, and then a few months back, Devu had made a Discord group with me, Econ, the Pedantic Romantic, and like a couple of other guys who are like anime knowledgeable people, and we were trying to make like a kind of anime club, and Devu just wanted it as a way that people would be like talking about anime around him so that he could learn more like random high-level shit. Well, this didn't really hold together for that long, and since I made my Discord not too long afterwards and like everybody started hanging out in there, that Discord just kind of died out. So then Econ eventually came to my Discord, the Patreon one, and he sort of became a controversial figure in there, but he and I would debate all the time, and I was telling him we should have a podcast together. And, you know, the first thing that we were just like arguing about that seemed like a good idea for a podcast is like Miyazaki, because I've become like a huge Miyazaki defender, and Econ's one of the few people who has the balls to criticize him. So I was like, fuck it, let's go at it. And I think that was a pretty fun podcast. For those who don't know, I participated in this AniTuber Expo, this thing where this guy named Mr. Nice Guy organized like 30-some anime YouTubers to like make their own clips analyzing each segment of the Animator Expo that Studio Khara did a couple of years back. And it's like a ludicrously ambitious project, but I don't know if Mr. Nice Guy was necessarily the right person to helm it, considering that he kind of, there's a little bit lackluster way that it's been slapped together with. It's certainly not getting any attention, and there's like misspelled names and stuff and like real basic editing mistakes. But You know, I contributed a part to it because he just needed somebody to fill a gap. Like, Gigguk was supposed to do my part, and he just, like, didn't turn up for whatever reason. So I did it instead. I just decided to do something really artsy with it since it was about an art house movie, and it was easy for me to do it that way. So I actually edited together my own video. Mr. Nice Guy had to edit over it because of copyright reasons, and he had to, like, censor out my swearing so that he could get the video monetized. But, like, he told me I could upload my version if I want to, which I might do. I might just put it up somewhere else so that you can see the, you know, the original edit. I just kind of threw it together real easy when he asked, and now it's out there. So now we've got the 18 fresh vlog. So obviously we've made a pretty huge leap. I did not release a whole lot of stuff in December, and that is because I was laying low. Like, I do appear in various things. I'm in some PCPs, I'm in some Plebe and the Weebs, you know, I've got some residual podcasts, some Manga Mondays and shit like that that came out, but I was mostly just trying to disappear off the grid for most of December. I was like, you know, working on background projects, getting a lot of things up and running that have not even been seen yet. I was organizing what May and I were going to be doing in the coming year, and then we took a long vacation over the course of 2 weeks, sort of bridging the gap between the 2 years. And within a few days left, I decided to record a vlog just kind of explaining the difference in direction I was taking, why I had been gone, the fact that I was coming back, some of what was going to be changing in the near future. And I really wanted it to feel like a more ritzy kind of vlogging experience. I wanted it to feel like there's going to be more editing now. There's going to be more like to the point and funny dialogue where I'm going to try to not ramble as much. I'm going to try to have a little bit more punch and bite in my clips, to use multiple clips if I have to, and just generally keep people better informed about what's going on. Then we launch into Digi Daily. Now, I explained the point of Digi Daily in the first episode of Digi Daily. Most of these were recorded in a very short span of time. At least as much of it is done. Not a whole ton of it is done, but a lot of it, enough of it is done that you won't have to worry about it for a while. But, like, I did most of it in the span of a few days at the start of, like, the end of November, the start of December, when I had the idea. And so there's tons of these little recordings, and there will be tons more. They were just thought up, like, on the spot. Literally, I hit record on the first episode and just started, like, looking around the room, coming up with shit, remembering stories, just pulling shit out of my head. Okay, so The Great Anime Director Who Time Forgot. This is the project I spent most of December working on. And the reason it didn't come out till January is that I spent so much time on it because I didn't want it to come out when it wasn't perfect. So after the Makoto Shinkai video, I really struggled with what was going to be the next big thing. I've talked about this in like a Digi Does Life at some point, how I was going to make a Made in Abyss video. I ended up scrapping that idea. I had a few other ideas, nothing I was really happy with. And then I just happened to stumble on this Mori Masaki guy because I was watching Time Stranger, because I just have a list of 70s and 80s movies that I've been slowly making my way through. And we just watched the movie and were really interested in it. And when I realized that this director didn't even have a Wikipedia page and had made just like 4 random obscure films, but yet somehow seemed important to the history of Studio Madhouse, I thought, oh man, I get to make a research paper on like a guy that no one in anime YouTube has covered at all. Like, if this director's ever been talked about, it's in somewhere that's too obscure for my audience to have ever seen it, you know? So like, let's bring this thing to the forefront. Let's write it really concisely, really like go in deep, explain a lot of history, explain who this guy is, watch all his movies, you know, like get the deets on this Mori Masaki dude and get him out there in the public consciousness, and then like brand the video in a way that it'll get a lot more views than like it normally would, you know. So that's why it's The Great Anime Director Who Time Forgot. But I really spent a lot of time workshopping this. I fucking would go back, you know, I would have a whole day where like that day all I'm allowed to do is read the script once and then not you know, record till the next day, because like I need another day to process it, to make sure it's perfect, to make sure that it doesn't need to be rewritten again. And I'm really glad I went through all that, because it's pretty fucking airtight. Like, the version that went to print, I'm completely satisfied with. There's nothing about it I would really change. I know some people don't like the Mushi Productions rant in the middle, but I really think that that deserved to be in there, because most people won't find out about that from another reason. Like, most people won't know that stuff. I didn't know a lot of that stuff until I was researching that video. Like, I didn't know exactly the timeline of when, like, these different TV shows and stuff started running until I did that research. So, like, to me, it was kind of important to understand that Madhouse was coming out in this period when, like, anime was... like, TV anime was still fairly new, you know, like, this wasn't something that had been going on forever. They just spent the 70s, like, grinding their way up to it, and then they could launch in the 80s, but anyways, hopefully that all came through in the video. I think it's really great. It's one of my favorite scripts I've written. So following that up almost immediately is the 10 sickest anime clips, and this came as a result of the fact that we had already started work on the Devilman video. So when May and I got home on January 3rd, we were having this discussion where I was talking to her about, like, search engine optimization and, like, showing her all these clips of, like, different videos. I've just been, like, showing her analysis videos nonstop for weeks, trying to get her ideas for her own videos. And I'm, like, watching all these, and she comes to the conclusion that you should obviously just cover Netflix shows, because Netflix shows are going to be seen by the most people. And I'm like, Devilman Crybaby comes out tonight. And she's like, oh shit. So that's obviously something I should cover, because I have a long-standing interest in Devilman. So we go and we watch it, and like, we watch it literally the second it comes out, and I write a script by the end of the next night. And then the next day, we're smoking up and we're listening to Hyperbit Heroes video on Devilman, and that inspires us to go watch the old OVA. I'm like, I can't publish this video until I've seen that old OVA, because I've seen it in Hyperbit Heroes video and it looks awesome. So we go and watch the first episode of the old OVA, and like, I think I see that clip of the the thing getting shotgunned twice that I used at the beginning of the video. And like, it was just because I had been thinking about that clip while watching the show that I was like, oh man, I should do like some kind of thing where I just like react to cool Sakuga clips. Like, just literally react to like hype moments that I've seen in shows. And then, like, I figured I could just, you know, hit random on Sakugaboru and do that, and it would make a funny video. And I would do it while I was, like, super baked and set music to it and just make it, like, a fun kind of, like, Donkey-esque, maybe a little bit, like, demo-esque video, you know. It's not quite in the style of my normal shit, but it still has enough of that appeal. Like, it's still a guy analyzing animation, so I think people still could relate to it, and I definitely want to do more videos like this, because I think it's really fun, and it allows me to do more just like simplistic editing, which makes it so I can make my own videos as opposed to always having to send them to an editor. Next, we got these DigiFam playthroughs where it was me and May, Hope, and Victor all playing games together down in Virginia. Pretty self-explanatory, but, you know, that's how it came to be. So now we've got randomly watching seasonal bullshit. Now, this is a weird series idea that just kind of came because May and I, we enjoyed doing these podcasts where we would just get real baked and commentate over an anime while we were watching it, and we were releasing them to patrons only. But some of them were pretty funny, and patrons seemed to be really enjoying some of them. So we were like, what if we applied the same thing to current shows? Just like watch the first episodes and commentate over them, and then just like release that and see if people will actually watch it. And then, because I've got this Devilman video coming up that I know is going to be at least somewhat of a big deal, I know it's going to get at least 100,000 views, I can put an ad for this at the end of it, and that way people will find out about our couples channel, which eventually is supposed to become a couples vlogging channel. So it's not really meant to be dedicated to this content, but this was just a really fun thing for us to do while we were in the middle of doing everything else. Like, my life was pretty dominated by this Devilman video for a good 5 days. So, like, the fact that I managed to get the 10 sickest anime clips video out of that, and the randomly watching seasonal bullshit where, like, we just kind of in between working on other stuff, like, decided to watch some current anime and make something funny out of it. I'm really happy but like we managed to do that in spite of the fact that I was working on this Devilman thing for so long. So then of course we get the Devilman video, and I've already explained why this happened, but like, you know, now you know. Now, this did have to be rewritten. The Devilman video that I initially wrote was 30 minutes long, and because it was so long, I really didn't want to edit it, and I really, like, labored over it and put it off for days, and I really didn't want to do it because I didn't think I'd be able to edit it fast enough to, like, get it out on time. Now, ironically, if I had just been editing the entire time, maybe I could have gotten it out in about the same amount of time, but I was really unhappy with the way it was written, because it was written to be a rush job. It was just too long for a rush job. So instead, I rewrote it entirely and cut it down to 18 minutes. It flows way better. I'm going to put a link to the original write-up in this post, so if you want to go read what the 30-minute version of the Devilman video looked like in comparison to the final 18-minute version, you can go see that. It is a dramatic difference, but yeah, that's what ended up happening. I edited it myself. I'm not satisfied at all with the editing job, but frankly, it was just like whatever could be done to get a Devilman video out while it was still relevant. And, you know, that's its main purpose in existing. I can't say I'm particularly proud of it compared to other videos coming out at the time, but, you know, again, it was made to cash in on Devilman as a Netflix series. And we got this Watch Old Anime video, which I had recorded on, like, the 4th and just forgot to release. But this was just inspired by, like, rewatching my Time Stranger video again and seeing, like, how many great ideas I'd been able to come up with just because I've been watching older anime, watching that old Devilman OVA and enjoying it, like, just as much as Crybaby, and just being like, I haven't even heard of this OVA. Like, I knew there were Devilman OVAs, but I didn't know what they were about or that they were good, you know? And, like, just the amount of enjoyment I've gotten out of watching old anime compared to what I've gotten out of watching some of this current shit, like, you know, it just made me want to fucking get the message out there, you know, just remind people again and again, you gotta watch older anime. And then, finally, the last thing that was new in here was the Manga Mondays on Forbidden Scrollery, which is a little bit different from the usual Manga Mondays in that there is editing in it. And really that was less because, like, I'm trying to make Manga Mondays, like, a more impressive show, and more because I was just so sick that, like, I couldn't talk right, and editing out all the gaps just made it, like, reasonable. Like, I couldn't perform in one long continuous go the way I normally do. And since this video had a lot of extra information about Touhou, I thought that editing some visuals might help people to follow what I'm talking about, and also that if it's a better edited and shorter and more accessible video, maybe Touhou fans who aren't necessarily fans of me might get interested in this just because it's about Touhou. So that's why I put a little bit more effort into editing that one, but hopefully that's going to become more standard on the channel in the future anyways. That's all for everything that I released in the last month and a half. Hopefully this was more entertaining than usual since I actually put some effort into it. And I'll see you in the next one.